Hello and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new around here, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. My name's Hannah, and on this channel I post a lot of content specifically about multi-level marketing companies, but I've also recently launched a new series on my channel all about influencers and social media culture, and thankfully that's bringing a lot of new eyes to my channel, which has been so cool to see. So I feel the need to give a little bit of context as to what this video is that you're watching. This is an OG series on my channel called MLM Horror Stories, where viewers will write in stories about their wacky and horrific experiences with multi-level marketing companies and their reps. And then I pick out a few of them and I read them for a video and kind of react to them together. I love these videos. I think they're a great way to spread the word about multi-level marketing companies and all the different ways that they can be harmful and damaging to a person's life, because this is episode 91 and I still uncover stories with situations that I've never even thought of, never even heard about. And so these videos are kind of like a PSA to everybody to educate yourself on the marketing tactics of these companies, the different ways they can scam you. And ultimately, this is like a series of cautionary tales as to why you should not get yourself involved with multi-level marketing companies. And in saying that, I'm always on the hunt for new great stories for this series. I can never have too many, so if you have your own MLM horror story you would like to send in, go ahead and check out the instructions in the description box down below. It's super easy, you just send me an email. This story says, "Dear Hannah, my name is blank, but I would like to remain anonymous. A couple of years back, my close friend was pregnant. Because the father was not in the picture, she asked me to be present when she was giving birth. I was incredibly honored, and I did a lot of research as to what is expected of a partner attending a birth. The most important thing seemed to be to make sure that she is as comfortable as possible. I decided to make sure to listen carefully to all of her wants and needs, as she's very independent and typically not the kind of person to demand much from anyone. A couple of days before the baby was due, I was over at my friend's house having dinner with her and her mom. At one point, my friend was distracted by something on the patio and left the room. The mom turned to me and said that she had something to show me upstairs. I went with her and she led me into a room and closed the door. She then pulled out a doTERRA travel kit with maybe 15 to 20 travel size essential oils. She started explaining to me which oils I have to put on the baby once it's born, explaining their different uses and so on. In the end, she wanted me to put 6 to 7 oils on the baby within the first hour of it being born. I don't remember the specifics. Other than that, she told me to put lavender oil on the baby's head as it was coming out. Are you kidding? My first thought is like, how are you supposed to? No, I don't even want to think about the logistics of this. Let's just say I'm sure there's several medical professionals who are doing their job in this moment, right? To have a hand reaching down to like drop lavender essential oils on the baby's unborn head, like it's just insanity. Who even suggests that as something to do? That is next level. I can't imagine how all new experiences must feel for a baby that's only seen the inside of a mother's womb before. All those lights, noises, etc. Even though I don't know much about essential oils, having something so strong and intense poured on top of you a second after being born surely cannot be a nice experience. I was very hesitant to do this, but since I'd already decided that my most important role as a bystander in the delivery room was to listen to my friend's wants and needs, I decided I would respect her wishes. About a week later, my friend goes into labor. In all the excitement and getting to the hospital, I completely forget about the doTERRA travel kit. Everything went fine. Both the mom and the baby came out safe and healthy. It was not until an hour or so after that I suddenly remembered the oils. I burst out to my friend, "Oh, I completely forgot the oils." My friend goes, "What oils?" I explained to her what her mother had told me to do, and I can immediately tell by my friend's face that something is not right. Yep, you guessed it. I had stupidly assumed that the mother was speaking on behalf of my friend. Instead, her mom had apparently tried to convince my friend to bring all these oils to the hospital. When my friend firmly refused, she then tried to basically trick me into using the oils on the baby instead, while my friend was distracted by giving birth and obviously in a very vulnerable position. Now, after attending the birth, the thought of trying to put oil on the baby's head as it was coming out makes me laugh. Even if I had brought the oils, what was I supposed to have done? Wrestled the two medical professionals out of the way to pour oil on the baby as it was coming out of my friend? This seems absolutely ludicrous to me. Yes, that's exactly what I was thinking earlier. It's just so nonsensical and inappropriate. You just don't do that. Anyway, thank you, Hannah, for your entertaining and informative content. Keep up the good work. Well, I would argue that the content is entertaining because we get stories like this, right? Absolutely entertaining to think about this whole thing playing out, but also slightly concerning that the friend's mom thought that that would be an okay thing to do to go behind her daughter's back, go behind her birth plan wishes, and try to get somebody else to put oils on her baby at an incredibly inappropriate time. We've talked in other videos about how it's bizarre and unnecessary to be putting undiluted essential oils on a literal baby. It's just not a good idea to do that. They have such sensitive skin and they're not proven to do anything beneficial, so why would you even risk it, you know? But I think stories like this really speak to the fact that people who are in doTERRA or Young Living, these essential oil MLMs, they have completely bought into the delusion that oils are the best thing for every situation in a way that is completely baffling to those who are not inside these companies. Planning to put essential oils on a halfway born baby is not a normal thought process by any means, but this kind of shows us that people who are in that whole essential oil world might not even think twice about doing something like that. I don't think you said anywhere in here if your friend's mom was in doTERRA and was like actively trying to sell the oils or something, but I'm not exactly that surprised that this kind of thought process is coming from somebody who appears to be deeply ingrained in the oily lifestyle, whatever that means for her, whether or not she's just a customer or if she's actively selling it too. So I guess here's the reminder that you don't really need if you watch these videos regularly, but essential oils are generally untested, generally unproven to do anything at all, and I'm of the opinion that both the price and the health claims of essential oils are greatly inflated. Still to come are some great stories, including one from a former Kirby rep and one from a former Arbonne warehouse employee. But before we dive into those, I would love to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Good Chop. Good Chop offers fully customizable boxes of high-quality meat and seafood delivered to your door on your schedule. The products are vacuum sealed and flash frozen at peak freshness, so you can stock your freezer and cook them when you want. There's over 70 high-quality cuts to choose from. There's 100% grass-fed ribeyes, USDA prime filet mignon, wild-caught salmon, free-range and organic chicken breasts, and thick-cut bacon, just to name a few. I love that the boxes are customizable. You can choose exactly what's in them, and they're delivered to you frozen, so you can just take everything and pop it in the freezer and use it when you want to. It's nice to be able to take the proteins off the grocery list because I've already got them on hand. The way I usually plan dinners is I go and I shop my freezer, seeing what proteins I've got and then building meals from there. Good Chop is convenient, there are no antibiotics and no added hormones ever, and the meat and seafood is sourced exclusively from American farms and fisheries. With this Good Chop box, I made a white bean chicken chili. This is a longtime staple in our household. It's super simple, quick, and comforting. And I also made these delicious sandwiches using Good Chop bacon. They were like a BLT and ham and cheese combined with garlic butter on top, and I put them in the oven for a few minutes. I haven't been able to stop thinking about these sandwiches since. They were so good. And I've still got plenty of other cuts of meat in the freezer that I'm going to use over the next couple weeks. To give Good Chop a try, you can head to goodchop.com/YouTube and use my code HannahAlonzo120, or click the link in the description box to get $120 off across your first 4 boxes. Again, that's code HannahAlonzo120 at goodchop.com/YouTube for $120 off across your first 4 boxes. Thanks again, Good Chop, for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the stories. This story says, Hannah, I really enjoy your content. You're doing wonderful service for the community and your content is easy to understand. Thank you very much. Honestly, I couldn't decide whether my story would be considered more of a horror story or an MLM top fail, so I'll let you decide. Please keep me anonymous. I've had lots of experiences with MLMs. I've had multiple friends selling Optavia, Pampered Chef, and Mary Kay, among others. I generally avoid critique of them because I don't have the energy for the drama. But when a friend from church moved to Utah and joined the Kangen Water alleged cult, I had to say something. She started posting videos on Facebook about the miracles of alkaline water. She also bragged that she had financed a Kangen filter and that you could finance one too if you buy from her. I cannot believe they are financing water. Let's call her Jenny. Yeah, so Kangen is one that we don't talk about a ton on my channel, so if you're not familiar, this is actually the MLM company named Enagic, and what they sell are Kangen water filters. They are several $1,000s. They are extremely expensive. It sounds like they do have financing plans for them. That's not surprising, I guess. And the people who sell these water filter machines believe that the water that comes out of the filter is like the gift from God. You'll be so healthy, you'll cure yourself of any ailments you have, and I think calling it like the Kangen water cult is very appropriate. The things that the people believe about this water filter have me questioning if they're truly in their right mind or not, or if they're under some kind of mind control tactics. I swear to you. These people drink the water, they cook with the water, they use it in their laundry, they clean with it, they bathe in it, to a point where they believe that anything other than Kangen water is like basically poison. Kangen water reps are, in my opinion, extremely brainwashed. So back to your story about your friend Jenny who just signed up for this. You say, I've had a few college courses in chemistry and anatomy, so I understand that alkaline water is a scam. I couldn't resist commenting on one of Jenny's posts, asking her how alkaline water is better than acidic acidic water. I wish I hadn't. I had no idea how deep this rabbit hole went. She left about 5 responses in a row filled with exuberance at my interest in Kangen. Oh my gosh, it was worse than I thought it would be. I will attach the PDFs that she posted that include the most outrageous health claims. They're positively wild. Of course, she started her comments by extolling the virtues of alkaline water for changing your blood pH, but then went on to talk about electrocuting the water and infusing it with molecular hydrogen. I'm officially lost, by the way. I responded with private messages after that as I didn't want to embarrass her in front of our mutual friends. I asked Jenny to please not invest any more money in this expensive gadget as it's a scam from beginning to end. I said I could show her articles from several credible sources to show how Kangen is based in pseudoscience and quackery. I explained that it's not possible to change your blood pH by eating or drinking anything, and if it was, you would die. Your blood pH is tightly regulated by your kidney and lungs. If you do get metabolic acidosis, it's a true medical emergency, not a slight imbalance that you can fix with drinking water. Then I told her if she really wanted to have alkaline water, maybe for acid reflux, she could accomplish that with 2 pennies worth of baking soda in a glass of regular water. I then sent her 2 videos from YouTube doctors debunking alkaline water completely. This is when it got even wilder. She responded by saying that Big Pharma and the deep state wanted me to believe the things I said. Because they had their own ionizers, they wanted to attack Kangen. She claimed that Big Pharma wouldn't fund holistic medicine because they wanted to fund researchers, which was a conflict of interest. I didn't know how to respond to that point as it didn't make any sense whatsoever. She said she had lost faith in science after 2020, and at this point in the conversation, she enlists her water cult pseudoscience to fuel her rebuttals. Jenny said her filter didn't use chemicals like baking soda to alkalize the water. It used electricity to add hydrogen to the water like nature does, and that adding hydrogen is healthy because oxygen is good for you. But hydrogen is not oxygen, so, what? Again, thoroughly confused, have no idea what's going on at this point. She then claimed that she personally knew 3 people who had used Kangen water to cure their cancer. Please refer to the PDFs I attached, where she claims that Kangen water does everything from lowering bad cholesterol and preventing diabetes to treating nail fungus and eliminating fleas. There are even claims that it stops open wounds from bleeding. I cannot with these people. Okay, yeah, let's get into it. There's 3 screenshots that you've attached, 1 for each level of pH alkaline water and its benefits. This one says 8.5 to 9.5 pH, does all kinds of things like relieving allergy symptoms, it's anti-aging, it reduces acid reflux, it helps with arthritis. It also says that it is cancer resistant. That doesn't sound like a thing. It can replace the salt in food, it prevents diabetes, it increases plant growth, and it also prevents gray hair, among a whole bunch of other crazy things. The next one is specifically about 11.5 pH. It apparently helps with indigestion and migraines and snoring and, quote, get rid of grease on the eye. What do you mean? Getting rid of grease on your eye? Like, what? What grease? What are we talking about? Getting rid of what grease on your eye? It treats food poisoning, it helps with the stomach flu, and heals tissue injuries. Again, amongst lots of other things listed here. And finally, 2.5 pH water. This one is hilarious. This one gets me, okay? Listen to this. It apparently relieves cold symptoms, stops a cough, treats your sore throat, and stops vomiting, but it can get rust off of metal. It's a good replacement for bleach, and it could clean the lime scale off of your shower head. So I'm confused. If you're supposed to be consuming this and drinking it to treat your cough and your sore throat and vomiting and like GI issues, but that same level pH water that you're ingesting could also get rust off of metal, and it can also be used as bleach, and it can clean lime scale off of things, like that's not something I would want to be ingesting. These are funny too. It can replace your toothpaste, and it can also prevent root canals. Who knew? My brain hurts trying to read this. How can anybody read this stuff and actually believe it? I have no idea. That's why I believe that the brainwashing runs really deep, and this is somewhat of a cult. The fear-mongering surrounding using or consuming anything other than Kangen alkaline water is really damaging. These people are living in fear, thinking that this is the cure-all and this is the only thing they can ever use for the end of time. And to be clear, I'm absolutely not an expert or professional in any sense of the word when it comes to things like this, chemistry, anatomy, that kind of thing, but I would like to think that I do have somewhat of good common sense, and that reading something like this where all these these things are listed, it's too good to be true. I just automatically discount it. I automatically believe that it can't be true. How can water be cancer resistant, stop your stomach ache, prevent gray hair, serve as a toothpaste, be an effective cleaner? Like, it just doesn't make logical sense. It is baffling to me that some people look at this and they believe it. Continuing on with your story, you said, I tried not to get angry. Close to 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer in both breasts. I underwent almost 2 years of grueling treatment to rid myself of cancer, followed by 5 years of anti-estrogen therapy. I've been cancer-free for a few years now, but I will carry forever the scars and side effects of treatment. So, to tell me that I could have cured my cancer with a fancy water filter is a huge slap in the face. I didn't want to engage in an emotional argument with Jenny. I simply explained that her claims about her fancy filter is not how science works. It's not how anything works. I told her I cared about her, and while I wished the best for her in general, I could not condone her selling Kangen. We finally agreed to disagree and said that we would care about each other no matter what. Jenny later posted another video on Facebook. In this video, she said a dear friend, me, had suggested making alkaline water with baking soda instead of using Kangen. In a condescending voice, she let loose with a word salad about baking soda being a dangerous chemical that accumulates in your body, breaking down your immune system. I don't know what this woman eats if she's afraid of baking soda. Then she doubled down on her claim that adding hydrogen to water somehow gives you oxygen. My brain cells started to hurt, so I clicked off. I hope Jenny stumbles on some actual facts that she can believe before she loses more money or scams anyone else. I'm sad that she's been lured by half-truths into spending money she doesn't have, and I'm even sadder that she will now turn around and do the same thing to others. A ridiculous lie becomes plausible if it's repeated often enough. Thank you for reading my story. I hope it helps anyone who might be considering joining this weird, alleged water cult. Say hello to the kitties for me and hug your baby tight. I'm right there with you. My brain cells hurt reading this, and I'm just as confused as you when it comes to where is this information coming from? How can anybody possibly believe this? It just doesn't even make sense. But what you said here, a ridiculous lie becomes plausible if it's repeated often enough. If these graphics or if this rhetoric that it has the ability to cure and treat all these different kinds of ailments is repeated and circulated enough within the company, at some point I'm sure you just kind of adopt it as fact. Because so many people are saying the same thing, it must be true, which is again kind of part of the reasoning as to why I believe this is a cult, because the members appear to be brainwashed into believing something that's completely untrue scientifically and factually, but they're under so much mind control that they can't see it. They can't think critically about it. Kangen is one of those companies that is absolutely perplexing, and it makes for some great stories, so thank you for sending this in. This story says, Hi Hannah, my name is Amanda, and I wanted to give you a different viewpoint of Arbonne. When I was about 20-ish, back in 2006 or so, I worked for their distribution center here in Indiana. I've included some articles that I dug up because I thought you would find them entertaining if nothing else, and I'll link those below too. I started working in Arbonne's distribution center not realizing what it was. When first starting, it was through a temp agency, and then you would get hired onto the actual company. Exciting, right? Because we would get 70 to 80% off any of the products they had to offer as long as we signed paperwork stating we wouldn't sell the stuff. Are you done? Sorry everybody for Zeke's persistent meowing in the background of this video. Okay, bye. I was excited because I thought they were high-end products, but it absolutely was not. The amount they would discount for us shows truly how much the markup is for all the people in the pyramid to get paid. It was a horror movie within months of starting. First off, there was a MRSA outbreak in the warehouse, and they didn't tell the consultants their products had come in contact with MRSA, even though we had asked for the warehouse to be disinfected, and they said no, it would be fine. Absolutely disgusting. Okay, naturally, for legal purposes, this is a story that has been alleged to me. I do not have any proof of if that actually happened, but that is what is being said here. Next, of course, as many know, working in a warehouse, it may not have air conditioning in hot weather, and being in the Midwest, it gets so hot at times. It's currently like 100 degrees with the heat index and humid. Well, the weight loss chews would be melted along with the lipsticks, and that's before we would even ship them out. We were told to send them anyway. Like, shouldn't we care about quality of the products? But no. They didn't care about it or their consultants. Also, the consultants love their product so much they would make it work before saying something was wrong. Because in MLM world, nothing is ever wrong, only rainbows and sunshine, right? We would also have to be on show where they would parade the consultants through the warehouse in their team shirts because they could pick up their orders from the front office in their luxury vehicles to show off. It was a field trip for their teams. Then next thing we knew, they moved their bundle products in-house for putting the sets together because they were struggling with getting the consultants to buy products but needed to keep the warehouse staff busy. So spending 8 hours putting eyeliners in boxes, bundling products together, putting together holiday sets or the products no one wanted into a mystery bundle just to keep busy. Now we're on to the summer of 2007 and they let go all of the temp workers by calling them all into the break room and being like, it's been real, but don't come back, while reassuring the other warehouse staff that we'll be fine, nothing to worry about. Everything's gonna be fine, right? As you guess, absolutely not. By the time we hit November, about 100 of us were advised on a Tuesday before Thanksgiving that we were being let go that day. They had the nerve to be like, at least you get Thanksgiving and Christmas off, but also could we please sign an NDA and we would get $500 to keep quiet. I didn't sign because I was worth more than that. But wait, it got better because that Black Friday they went on Good Morning America to advertise that they were donating $100,000 in product to an organization for teens after they had just fired us all. Also, while pulling up the article about my layoff, I found how Arbonne may lose their tax breaks because they haven't brought the 450 plus jobs to the area that they promised. They are 90% short at about 50 employees. And that's where your email ends, but you did add a couple of links. I'll put those in the description box below. And one of the articles does say, as part of the Arbonne tax abatement agreement, the company agreed to hire 435 workers over a 10-year period in exchange for the tax break. However, Arbonne has not held up its end of the agreement, city officials say, because the company has a reported 46 employees. So that is kind of an interesting little tidbit to throw in there, definitely. And regarding what you're saying about how they went on TV to brag about how they're being so charitable, I wasn't able to find an example of this year. I think you said 2007. However, if you just Google like Arbonne News Charity Black Friday, something like that, there is a history that shows up of them going on the Today Show. And it looks like they do this year after year after year around the holidays to talk about how they're being so charitable and donating personal care products or skincare products or toys to a toy drive, that kind of thing. And I agree that the timing is quite insulting considering that they had just fired a whole bunch of people right before the holidays and then they go on national television to be like, look at how great we are as a company and how charitable we are and how much we care about people. That just feels so slimy to me, and I'm sorry that happened to you. I do have to just reiterate again for legal purposes that these stories are always alleged to me. There are some pretty concerning things that you've outlined in your story about what goes on in the Arbonne warehouse, and I think that we should just take that as food for thought moving forward, because a lot of what we see are the forward-facing reps for these companies, the people who have signed up for the business opportunity and whose whole job is to sing the praises. We don't often get to hear about people who work in the warehouse and say the product was damaged, the working conditions were poor, there were times where we weren't really selling that much, so we were just reorganizing and repackaging products into bundles to kill time, that kind of thing. It offers a very different look into what's going on within the company that we don't often get to see just based on what we hear the reps themselves saying. So I really appreciate you sending in your story and for sharing your perspective. This story says, hi Hannah, I'm new to your channel and I just came across your MLM Horror Stories number 86 and I heard you mention Kirby. I've not thought about this company in many years, but I worked for them for about a week when I was 19 years old. I'm now 42. I applied for a customer service rep job and I was very excited when I was informed immediately that I was hired, but I did not know that it was for selling anything. I thought maybe I'd be sitting in a room answering a phone regarding issues someone had about whatever the company had for sale. Mind you, this was back around 2001, 2002, so I wasn't able to jump online and research the company because I didn't have a computer. My first day there, we were taught all about the vacuum, the features of the vacuum, and the benefit of working for the company, the trips. I won't bore you with all the details of orientation, but I will say that the bulk of the training was acting out scenarios of attempting to convince people why they needed to buy a Kirby vacuum. I only went out for 2 days to attempt to sell the vacuum because the tactics that we were required to use just didn't sit well with me. This was a very shady company and the employees are trained to be annoying. Here's some of the situations I encountered on a very short employment run with them. Number 1, to do a demonstration, you have to first be allowed to be let into someone's home. Kirby had what you call knockers, and these are the people that have the gift of gab to be able to convince someone to let you into their home. So we show you how the product works and why you're going to love it. Most of the time, only the newbies went out with the knockers. Our knocker had some pretty shady tactics with him and left us in some pretty messed up situations a few times. One way to get into someone's home is to give them a free gift, which the majority of the time was a free bottle of dish detergent. That's interesting that it was a common tactic to give detergent as a free gift. I've actually only heard of people giving the gift of a free cleaning or something. Usually the way that I've heard that Kirby reps get into your house is they'll say that they'll vacuum a room of your house for you. And it's sort of like, oh, sure, like how bad could that be? That seems pretty harmless, right? But it seems like with the people you worked with, it was more common that they would give a free bottle of dish detergent to the person at the door. Our knocker would knock on someone's door, and when they would open, we would see him talking to the homeowner, and then he would wave for us to get out of the truck as he proceeded to run to the back of the truck. We would run to the door expecting to be let in to do the demonstration, only to find that the knocker had simply said hello to him, asked him a random question, and then handed him the bottle of detergent to hold as he ran and signaled to us as though the homeowner had agreed to this. That is like next level manipulative as a way to get into someone's house. Essentially like, here's a free gift, let's ambush you and make our way into your house. That's pretty creepy and invasive. Also keep in mind, not a lot of us had cell phones at this time, and there was a situation where a homeowner did not let the Kirby worker into his home and told him to get off his property. There are multiple Kirby reps in the truck, so it's not uncommon that you got dropped off and the truck pulled off before you actually got into the house. It took us hours to find this guy because none of us had cell phones to call one another to see where we all were. Number 2, there are these little round things. I'm gonna call the round things pads. You stick them into the vacuum to collect the dirt that you pick up, so with every back and forth motion on the floor, you have to get a different pad. That seems highly annoying and inefficient. The point of this is to line them up on the floor as you go and leave them behind for the customer to clean up if they didn't buy the vacuum. The kicker is if you did not have at least 200 pads on the floor when the truck came to pick you up, then you didn't get paid for that demonstration. There's always a supervisor in the truck, and they come inside once they've come back for you. If the customer bought a vacuum, then we would clean up the mess. But if they did not, then we would head out to go back to the truck and leave the mess behind unless the customer asked us specifically to clean it up. Most of the time, the people just wanted you out of their house, so they would just let you go about your way and they would clean up the mess themselves. That's also something that I've never heard in regards to a Kirby story. I feel like I read a lot of Kirby stories, actually. They're kind of like a fan favorite around here, and I swear I'm learning new things with every single one, and the tactics get weirder and weirder as we go along. Essentially, punishing a customer for not buying a multi-$1,000 vacuum cleaner from you is a new one. Number 3, to answer your question on why the husband would have to be home for the demonstration, is because the Kirbys, of course, were really pushed towards the women of the house, and they would buy it impulsively after seeing all the features, but when the husband gets home and sees the total cost, a lot of times it ended in returns or bad situations. Another reason is because sometimes one partner may not see Kirby's vision and the other partner will and can talk the other into it, like the woman's husband from the video of yours that I referenced above, MLM Horror Stories 86. Okay, so that does give a little bit of clarity as to why they want both partners at home together to hear the pitch, because if not, it might be hard to get one partner on board and not the other, or it's really easy to get that one partner on board, but then the other partner comes home and vetoes it and it ends up in a return or something. I guess that does make sense. For the purpose of Kirby salesmen, I guess I should say that it makes sense. It's probably more efficient to pitch both partners at once and get them on board at the same time. And number 4, we would spend the entire day out on these runs. We would leave the building around 9 a.m. in the morning, and we wouldn't get back to the building until about 7 p.m. They always drive really far out of the way to make these sales, at least 2 hours, to make it more difficult for someone to be able to make a return. And I think that's because I've heard in previous stories that if a customer wants to return the vacuum, they're responsible for like getting it back to Kirby. Or I've heard in some stories that the Kirby salesman will take the customer's current vacuum with them and replace it with a Kirby. So if you wanted to do the exchange and like get your old vacuum back, you would have to drive to the warehouse to get it or something. Or maybe not even a warehouse, just like an office space of some kind where they're hoarding all these vacuums. And maybe if they had to drive 2 hours out of the way to do this return, I could see how that would deter some customers from actually following through with it. That's so shady. I don't have too many horror stories about it because I didn't go into many people's homes. It just didn't feel safe, so I quit. I went to a total of 3 houses and inside only 2 of them. The guy that was asked to hold the bottle did not let us in. The 2 houses I did go into, I spent the majority of the time talking to the lady and trying to help her finish her puzzle because she was really nice. And she told me as soon as I got there that she wasn't gonna buy one, and I said okay, and I didn't push it. Since the truck had left already, I didn't have anything to do except wait for them to come back and get me. Luckily, she was a nice older woman and let me stay inside until they came back. The third house, I only put down 6 pads, and I got frustrated and just vacuumed the lady's living room for her regularly because she also expressed that she wasn't gonna buy one. Needless to say, I was never paid a penny by Kirby because I never came anywhere near 200 pads, but I have no regrets about not badgering people. Best of luck, health, and love to you and your family. I almost feel like more confused about Kirby and their selling tactics after this story. They just seem so ludicrous. Who comes up with these things? Who says that you have to put down 200 pads on someone's floor in order to get paid? Whose idea was it to give people a bottle of dish detergent as a free gift to get into their house to do a vacuum demonstration? Like, that connection doesn't really make sense to me either. The fact that there is a truck of salespeople and you're dropping them at people's houses and like coming back to get them hours later, and these people are expected to host you in their house, like, Kirby doesn't make sense to me personally. So I will end this the same way I end every single Kirby story. Do not let these people into your house, okay? Shut the door. It's all right. Don't get yourself entangled in it. Thank you for sending in this story. We can just add it to the archives of all the weird, bizarre things we hear about them. And with that, that's all the stories I have for you for today's MLM Horror Stories video. Thank you so much to those of you who wrote in your stories. And again, if you have your own, please don't hesitate to send it to me. The instructions for how to do that are in the description box down below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you in my next one real soon.